Welcome to Fort Worth Innovates, a show about innovation, research, entrepreneurship, and startups in Panther City. My name is Cameron Cushman, and I'm the host of this podcast that brings you the stories of the people that are putting our city on the map as a leader in innovation, with the help of the Fort Worth-Tarrant County Innovation Partnership. My guest today is Brett Bowden, who refers to himself as El Capitan of Printed Threads, a local printing, branding, and marketing firm that also opens itself up as an event venue. Brett is not only a former leader of a rock band and has a degree in music, but he's also the founder of Printed Threads, which he started in 2010. But what really attracted us to Brett is the innovation lab that he started that tests and evaluates materials, fabrics, processes, dyes, and other materials for clients all across the country. Brett is quietly doing some really innovative things from his company's headquarters in the near Southside neighborhood in Fort Worth. Brett, welcome to the Fort Worth Innovates podcast.
Hey, Cameron, thanks for having me.
So I just described a little bit about Printed Threads, but tell me what you think it is in your own words. How do you describe it?
That's a good question. I guess the way I would describe Printed Threads is people will see us as a decorator of apparel. So we're screen printing t-shirts, we're embroidering hats, we're doing all of that stuff. We're a merchandising company, but we're really a company that cares a lot about branding and about how people's brand is translated onto clothing. So we look at a t-shirt as a full package product. It's not just taking a logo and putting it on some specific t-shirt and then sending it out to the marketplace, but we're looking at it all together as a product. If your brand is appealing to a certain demographic, we're going to put it on a certain type of shirt. We're going to make it all come together. We'll design something around it and deliver it to the public so that when you're out walking around wearing a specific t-shirt, people say, hey, what is that? And then it gives you an opportunity to talk about your company or to talk about your favorite brewery or to talk about your favorite bands. And because we wear that as a badge of honor.
I love that. And so you've been doing screen printing on t-shirts and branding materials for a long time. But what led you to open up the Innovation Lab?
We've tried to be a leader in the printing community. We've tried to do different things and make sure that we're using all of the newest technologies when we're printing t-shirts. And over the years, I've been involved in several different organizations inside of our industry. I was on the board of directors of SGIA, which is the trade organization for our industry. It actually renamed. It's called Printing United now. I was also involved with a group called the Ink Kitchen that was doing a lot of education and sharing in our industry. I teamed up with a company called Ryonet, which is screenprinting.com, and I was teaching classes for our industry. In fact, I've taught thousands of people how to screen print, which is kind of a crazy thing for a screen printing business owner to do, is to train your competition. But I feel like the reality is if I train the people, maybe they'll be nice to me too. And then actually helping start another t-shirt brand called All Made Apparel, which is a sustainable fabric and just a really cool t-shirt brand made by screen printers. Through all of these different things that I've been involved in, people were coming to us, myself and my partners in MadeLab, which would be Ryan Moore and Tom Davenport and Brian Lassard. They were coming to us as kind of these industry pioneers saying, hey, will you show us how to do that? Or can we bring these new products to you? And can you do all these different things on these products to make sure that it's a good product that we should release to the market? And we said, we can't really do that in any of our normal businesses. Like I can't shut down production to start testing on some fabric. We don't really have a way of doing that. Obviously in production, the goal is to move as quickly as possible from project to project so that it's a manufacturing business, right? So that the more widgets we get out a day, the more money we make. So with the testing, you really have to slow down and think about things and try a bunch of different methods. And that just doesn't work in a manufacturing facility. So we're like, well, maybe we could do this in a laboratory environment, and we could create a laboratory that is able to test products on a daily basis. So we created Made Laboratory, and MADE is an acronym. It stands for Modern Apparel Development and Education. If the four of us don't know something, someone is a 1 degree away that knows something. And so like we have these experts in a room together that can do all of this testing to make sure that fabric is stable and to make sure that we can be making better products, more innovative fabrics, making sure that the inks that we use on these fabrics are stable. That you've probably bought a shirt at some point where the ink washed off or something like that happened, or even like remember when we were in Little League sports and they heat pressed numbers or they ironed on numbers onto the jersey and they peeled off. We're making sure that doesn't happen so that the fabrics that are being manufactured are stable to receive these decoration techniques. But anyways, if we have the guys in the room that are able to figure out all of that stuff, they're also the guys in the room that should be educating the industry. A rising tide lifts all boats for every industry in the world. We want to be the people making sure that tide rises in our industry. So we're going out and educating people by hosting workshops all over the country for different methodologies of printing. We're also teaching conferences, bringing thought leaders together. We have these high-level executive conferences. One's called ThreadX, where we bring all the C-suite of the biggest companies in our industry together in a place that these people would never be together if we didn't bring them together. They're all competitors. It's like our G20, right? If we bring all these competitors together and they have face-to-face conversations, like where do we go from there? That's where like suddenly we start working together instead of against each other, and then we build a better industry from that. So yeah, so MadeLab was kind of born out of this idea of making everything better, making fabrics better, making ink better, making technologies better, making our equipment better, and certainly making our whole industry better as a whole.
That's great. Yeah, I love the mission and I love the heart behind that, that you're not just trying to make a quick buck. You're really trying to help the entire industry. But tell us about how your clients for MadeLab, how do they find you? And what do they send you? And then how do you kind of help them through a process?
Yeah, so our day-to-day clients at MadeLab are going to be manufacturers of apparel. So when you go buy a t-shirt at the store that has been printed, you look inside that label and it says All Made Apparel or Bella Canvas or Port and Company or District or A4. Like these are people that are reaching out to us to test their fabric to make sure that it is stable to make into a t-shirt and then ship into distributors that then go to printers, get printed or decorated, and then shipped into retail. So it's a small world, right? Like in our industry, a lot of people know each other, and we've been really, really involved with all of these apparel companies. So as Printed Threads, for example, whenever we're ordering products for our customers that will then ship into retail or to your your family reunion or backyard barbecue, whatever we're printing for, we work with all these brands. We work with Nike and Adidas and Bella Canvas and A4 and All Made and all these big entities. So we already had those relationships because we're already working with them in that capacity. It was them coming to us actually that started the whole project in the first place. Like one of the biggest companies in our industry that you probably haven't heard of, but it's a crazy huge family owned business called Sanmar. They're one of the biggest manufacturers of apparel in our industry. And they were coming to us asking, hey, can you do this testing? We were working really closely with Bella Canvas. Bella Canvas also owns Aloe Yoga, but they were coming to us saying, hey, can you help us innovate? Hey, can you test these products? And so it's not us going to people as much as it is them coming to us because they trust us. And being a third party is really important because if the mill is doing the testing and saying, yeah, everything is great, obviously it's harder to trust. So being a trusted third party is really important.
Very cool. And Kendall, our producer, and I had the opportunity to tour your space it was a year or two ago. And I was just blown away by it. I don't really know what I was expecting, but it was really cool. Can you describe what the MadeLab looks like? Can you describe kind of give us a visual picture of what it looks like and how it works?
Yeah, so it is a laboratory environment, so it's really important that it's clean, that it looks really good. It was really important to us that it'll look really good in pictures and videos because we do a lot of videos and that type of thing at the facility. But it's this building that was built in 1950, and originally it was a cross dock. So right where we are on South Freeway here, we're right next to the Obi Macaroni building. I don't know if you know the history of that building, but it was one of the first hotels in the city of Fort Worth. So the trains would come, they'd stop, people would get off, they'd stay at the hotel and wait for the next train to come that they were going to get on to go wherever they were going. And if you've watched the TV show 1883, for example, you kind of get a view of that Wild West look, and that's how this city was back then. Anyway, so there's some rich history over here, but so we've got the Printed Threads building that's right next to Obi Macaroni, and then the MadeLab building kind of sits behind that, right on the train tracks. So the trains used to pull up, they would offload their materials on into the cross dock, and then tractor trailers would back in and then take that on the road wherever it was going. So we basically walked into this building that was built in 1950, and it was just disgusting. Like when the landlord was showing it to me, I said, "There's no way anyone will ever lease this building." And then 6 months later, as we're talking about this idea for MadeLab, I was like, "Let's just use the building next door." So we gutted it, cleaned it up. We whitewashed everything, painted all the walls, painted the ceiling, redid the floors with epoxy, so that this is just like a really clean environment. And then we worked with the biggest manufacturers of screen printing equipment and embroidery equipment and digital equipment to put machines, all the state-of-the-art machines in this facility. So everything in there is completely state-of-the-art. We made sure to put in really nice lighting and all those things. So it looks like walking into a laboratory. It's probably a little bit more creative than that. We do a lot of education in the building. So we bring people from all over the country and all over the world into our facility to do education. So one thing that's really cool about the environment is there's viewpoints and vantage points from all around. So you can fit 30 or 40 people in there that are all learning, but they all can see really well. So that was kind of another cool, unique piece of that. And then also kind of being right next to Printed Threads, where we have a big production facility here, but we also have a 3,000 square foot showroom that we use for all kinds of events. But we can also bring people in there, and we can fit about 100 seats and do education in there as well. So they kind of they work together in tandem really, really well. But yeah, so just imagine walking into any science laboratory and then add a little art to it, which is kind of the screen printing element, and that would be MadeLab.
Yeah, what I remember was it was almost like Willy Wonka vibes. You'd see a machine and you're like, I have no idea what this machine does, but it looks cool. And obviously you could tell that it turned this way or it did something, but it was really fascinating to see. And you're right. I do remember that there was a lot of space around it. So you could hold a class or walk people through it and people could really see what you're doing. So kudos to you for building a space that was really effective at that.
Yeah, thank you.
So how unique is this kind of thing in the industry? Is the MadeLab? I mean, are there hundreds of these across the country, or are you guys pretty unique?
This is the only one. Yeah, so it's been really interesting because there's in a lot of businesses, right? You start at an ice cream shop, or you start a shoe store, or you start something like that. You have a playbook to go on. You can go say, like, I'm going to start an ice cream shop and I'm going to see what Melt did, and I'm going to copy it and do the same thing, right? Which is certainly more difficult to do than it sounds. But like we didn't have a playbook to go off of, so we're trying to figure out how this works. Basically, we have these companies coming to us asking us to do this. We don't know how to charge for it. There's not even a price list to copy, right? I can't say I'm creating a shoe that looks just like that Nike shoe and I'm going to charge 10% less or whatever that is, right? So we had to create all the tests and all of the grading systems, and then we also had to create the price for that test. So just it is crazy. Yeah. So there are some like micro labs that are inside of mills, but they don't do all the testing that we do. So a mill that makes the shirt that you're wearing probably has some sort of testing lab, and they test for the shrinkage, right? They're going to wash that shirt and test it and say, does this shrink an inch, or does it shrink 2 inches? And at some point they say, okay, this is our threshold, and we're not going to make a fabric that shrinks that much, right? And like they're setting basically their own metrics for how it should be, their own standards. So we're trying to create more of an industry standard that says like, hey, it's not okay if a shirt shrinks 2 inches. Like that's not acceptable, and we grade that and we give them a failing grade, and then they can decide if they want to move forward with manufacturing that fabric into a t-shirt. But yeah, it's a completely different playbook. Like another thing that we do is, like I was mentioning, the education and bringing people in to train them, but we also have trainers. They go on site and train SOPs, standard operating procedures, that each print shop should have. And we're trying to make those more standard so that like a shop can figure out how to scale and when to scale and those types of things, so that they can build their business in a smart way instead of just like shots in the dark, right? And those customers come to us just because they know who we are in the industry, kind of the same, almost like a word of mouth type thing. But there's no standards in our industry, so we're having to kind of create all of that as well. So it's a crazy, no one's ever done it before, or maybe people have tried and they haven't quite been successful. But yeah, for us to be kind of 4 years into this project and we're still creating something new every day and innovating every day. In fact, I just got off a conference call right before this where we're talking about how are we going to do these next few things. And it's hard. It's all coming straight out of our brains and not out of a book or stealing ideas from somebody else, which that's great. It's great to be unique.
Well, and I love that you're doing that all from right here in Fort Worth. Most people don't realize all the cool innovation that's going on right under our noses, and you're doing it from the heart of the city, right? I mean, everybody drives past that intersection all the time. They see your shop, and they're going down 30 or 35, and they probably driven past it 1,000 times and don't even know it, much less that it's the center of testing and standard creation throughout the industry. I mean, I think that's just fascinating, and kudos to you for going and building it. All right. Next question. I want you to kind of paint a picture for me. Can you give us a specific example or examples of a sample that a client sent you that worked out better than expected? Like you're thinking there's no way this is going to work. But then on the flip side, is there one that was a total disaster, like it melted on the table or something terrible happened? Can you give us sort of a good example and a bad example of your process and how that worked or didn't work?
Over the years of learning what you're doing, we've certainly learned like things that are not possible and things that are possible. And you get stuck in your ways of saying, well, this is not possible. And then someone challenges you and says, well, I did it. And you're like, well, wait, like, I guess I should go back to the drawing board on that and be a little bit more open-minded. I'll talk like from the inception of printed threads, for example, like we used to do this specific style, or we still do this specific style of printing called discharge printing. And what happens is you basically print ink on fabric and it bleaches the fabric and absorbs the color of the ink. So let's say you've got a navy blue shirt, and I want to put red ink on it, and we use a red discharge ink. What's happening, we mix that in, and then as it heats up, it bleaches cotton. And so it's going to change that navy dye. It's going to destroy the dye and take it to the natural color of the shirt, which is usually like a kind of a tan color, like natural cotton. And then it'll receive the red dye that's inside the ink. So I love that style of printing. It's the kind that you can't feel the print on it. It's feels very fashion retail, I guess you could say. But in the early days of printed threads, like we got this order and it was like maybe 1,000 shirts, which for us back then, that was a really, really big deal. And I'm like this is back in the days where I still had a day job. So in the beginning of printed threads, I would go to work. I worked at a cable company. I used to be a cable guy. So that's a whole different interesting story, but I would work all day and then I'd come home and then I'd start printing and I'd print all night long. And then there were nights where I would literally print all night long, take a shower, and go back to work. Back in those days, I'm printing in the middle of the night, and I'm trying to print discharge white on this turquoise fabric, and it just won't work. I can't get a white print all night long, like 4 hours, and I can't call anyone to ask a question because it's 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. or whatever it is. So with that, at 9 a.m., I make a phone call, and I'm like, hey, I cannot get this print to work, and I called an old friend, and he said, "Yeah, you can't do that. That doesn't work. You can't print white on turquoise. You can't do white discharge on turquoise because the dye is too strong. You can't destroy the dye." And so that was a moment in my life of total frustration and total failure. But we got past it. More recently, there's a big trend of heat applied, uh, just different types of heat applied graphics onto fabrics, which has been really, really great. So now we can do full color emblems on backpacks, for example, or something that traditionally would have been really hard to screen print. Now we can put these really nice graphics on them. They last a long time. It's not like what I was talking about earlier, where when we got a soccer jersey and the numbers peeled off. Like, these are really, really nice, well done heat applied graphics. And so the biggest deal for us now is making sure that they don't melt fabrics. So like a lot of backpacks are made of vinyl or nylon or something like that. And so probably the most beautiful thing is now, like, we could get a full color image on a really hard to reach pocket on a backpack, and it looks really, really good. Or on crossbody bags are really popular right now, like stuff like that, that is really cool and would have been impossible to do a few years ago. So that's probably my bright side.
Very cool. Love it. So you mentioned starting it in 2010, and I want to go back to the very beginning. You told us a little bit about how you got it started, but what gap in the market did you see that you wanted to fill? Why did you say, I want to start a screen printing company?
um, well, here's the reality. I quit touring in a band in 2005 or 6. I started going to college. I went to the University of Colorado at Denver to get a degree in music, because I thought I would re-enter music at the end of that. And then during college, I got married to my wife, Sarah. We had our first child. His name's Dash. So I graduated school and thought, well, I want to be a teacher. And I graduated in 2009. We were in a recession. I interviewed for several different school districts, couldn't get a job. No one was hiring. And so I was working this cable guy job. It was just totally miserable. And I went to Sarah and I said, hey, like, I dabbled in screen printing at some point before when I was printing shirts for bands. Like, maybe we could put a screen printing shop in the garage and just see what happens. And it exploded. It's like in 6 months, it became my full-time job, and we're kind of doing this together. And kind of the starting a business is really hard, especially when you're working another job and juggling the kids and all of that stuff. So Sarah and I, like, worked really hard, just to survive in that time. And then I started the business, and it was like, when you start a business, like, you don't take a paycheck, right? You got to get to that point. And so, with that, Sarah's working really hard to coupon. She's working as a nurse at Cook Children's Hospital, and basically floating our family while I'm making $0 for a long time. And so it's funny. It's not like we were, like, set to, like, fit a hole in the market. Like, we set out to just survive. Like, I was, like, in total survival mode. Like, I don't have a good job. There is just internally in my spirit is like, well, I'm just going to create that for myself. And so that's what we did. Now, like, the way I think that we differentiated was like, okay, like, I care a lot about design. I care about, like, how all of this stuff comes together. And I want to make sure that what people receive, like, we first started printing for bands, for example, because that's what I was the closest to. I knew a lot of people that were still touring in bands. I want to make sure that the product that they receive is something they can be proud to sell and that will sell well. I know what it's like to be on the other side of a merch table and just be, like, trying to get people to come over to the merch table and sell them a t-shirt. And that's a band's livelihood. That's how they eat. That's how they sleep. It's such an important part of being in a touring band, is being able to sell merchandise. And so, like, I was just working really hard on making products that people would be really proud of. So even back in the garage days, I was printing with different types of inks, trying to make cooler looking prints, trying to make prints that most print shops weren't making. And that's probably the hole that we filled in that moment that maybe made people put more attention towards us. But then I was also all about, like, getting out there, getting out in the community, showing off who we were, and making sure that people knew that we existed, which is the other part of being an entrepreneur that sometimes people fail at. Is like, yeah, you've created the coolest widget in the world, but no one knows it exists. So how is anyone ever going to buy it? Right.
Yep, it makes sense. It's a huge problem for entrepreneurs that most people just don't think about. Well, that's great. That's a really cool story. So you've already alluded to some of these, but I'm going to ask this question anyway. Are there any innovations that you're working on right now that you want to highlight? Like, obviously, you're creating standards, you're working through problems, you're taking in all these samples from other potential clients. But what other kind of innovation are you working on?
We are working on a lot of like standard operating procedures for the industry, or standardizing those things, as I kind of talked about already, creating a lot of video curriculum. I'm also the technical chair of screen printing for the Skills USA organization, if you've heard of that. So
Yes.
Skills USA is like the organization for basically trade classes in schools, that they kind of install the curriculum and they have competitions. So whether that's for automotive or culinary or beauty or whatever it might be in our local schools, they go to these kind of regional competitions, then a state competition. And if you win your state competition, you get to go to the national competition. For the past decade, I've been in charge of the national competition for screen printing, which is wild. It's really cool to see these kids come up and they're excited. But we're helping create better curriculum for that, which I think is really important, because if we create those standards and better curriculum, um, more kids can enter our industry and grow the industry here in place instead of having to offshore stuff, which is obviously really important to grow our local economies. Yeah, so we're working on some really cool technology actually in the background that hopefully in the next 6 months will come to fruition, and here in the next week that will make some really, really cool waves in our industry. But we're always helping with the kind of the newest technology in our industry is laser imaging, and that's really fun, and we get to help make that better. Those are some products that have already launched that the biggest companies in our industry come to us to help them refine. And so that's really, really exciting.
That's really cool. Well, thanks for sharing. I love your space. We've already talked a little bit about kind of your main space, but I know you use it as an event venue and you use it to show off some of your products and the capabilities that you guys have. But can you tell us a little bit about some of these events? What do they look like? What kind of events do you host? How often do you host them?
Yeah, so we try to get people in our building as much as possible. It was like we need to be in the heart of Fort Worth, and our lease was up for renewal up in North Fort Worth, and we just started driving around, and this building obviously is very obvious to see from the freeway, and I was like, let's try it out. And we walked in, and it was gross. Sarah and I looked at each other and like, this is perfect. This is where we should be. So we spent a lot of money kind of dressing it up and making it look nice. But when I walked in for the first time, there's just this one big room that you walk straight into, and I was like, we could do events here. Like this would be so great. And that's a heart of mine, is like bringing community together. In fact, one of the core values of Printed Threads is cultivating creative community. And so we decided, let's build this into an event space. We put a stage in the corner. There's a bar in another corner. So it's kind of a turnkey event space for people to come in and have an event. But we decided to put on our own events, of course, and we partner with the Visit Fort Worth once a quarter. We do their Here Fort Worth, and it's specific to education. So we call it Music Know-How, and we bring in managers of bands or CPAs or music licensing people, or all these different people that can help educate bands on the things that they should be thinking about, and to treat their band as a business, which is what it should be treated as. And then we have like just other people reach out to us to have community events here. I think we're having an event for Tech Fort Worth here in December. Last weekend we had an event for Art Tooth, where they came and had a big fundraiser. So I just believe that like people need a place to come together, and if we can be that place, that's great. And if they don't know who Printed Threads is and they walk in and realize, oh, this is what you guys do, then it's great marketing for us as well. So I love that. I love being able to feed people. I love being able to entertain people, and I love being able to bring people together.
Very cool. Well, I love it, and that's such a great service to the community. Speaking of service to the community, you've been a great advocate of startups, entrepreneurs, innovators in Fort Worth. The last time I ran into you was at the Fort Worth Business Plan competition where you were sponsoring one of the awards there. Can you tell us about that effort and some of your sponsorships? And of course, we want to know who won.
Starting a business is very hard, and it takes a lot out of you. It takes a lot out of your family. I think going back to like us traveling the country for a year and a half, like I hadn't seen my kids in years, right? Like you end up working 16-hour days, 24-hour days. It's so taxing, and so I'm very empathetic to anyone that is willing to just take that leap and start a business, um, and take that. It's just a huge risk, right? Like I think about it daily. Like, if this thing falls apart, it's my whole life. It is my identity. It is like, and the amount that I will owe to banks or whoever is like scary, right? So it just has to work. But when I see new businesses starting up, like I love to help them out in any way I can. Like I've learned a lot. I've started a lot of businesses, and I own 3 right now. I've had a lot of businesses that have failed, and those are great learning moments and good stories to tell. And so I like to know people. I like to help people. And some things that I've done in the past is like I remember when Heim Barbecue used to be in a trailer over here, right next to us, actually, where we are now. But um, it's like they were doing a really cool thing and I could see it. They were literally working 24 hours a day making that thing happen, because like the people that make barbecue, they start at midnight or 10 o'clock at night to make sure that they have barbecue for the next day. And to do that as just a, a young couple, I mean, that's so hard. So I was like, can I just give you guys a bunch of hats and then just see if they sell? And the last thing an entrepreneur has is more money to start their next thing, whether that's, you could create revenue through a merchandise line, but you don't have the money to invest into it in the first place. So there's been a lot of times where I've seen a young business, Gusto's down the street, or Tricks of the Trade down the street. When they start up, I'm like, yeah, like your first merch order is free. We'll pat each other's back down the road, but like I want to bless those communities. The Fort Worth Business Plan competition, I think, is such a cool thing. And what I want out of that is for more people to know about it, because for the city to come together and say, hey, we're going to get some entrepreneurs together and we're going to create a competition and we're going to create like the education piece of it. So, like, I think this last year, 50 entrepreneurs or 50 small businesses got together and they go through like like how to do your pitch or how to build your business plan. It's an education component that leads into a competition. And so these entrepreneurs all submitted their business plan, and then the top 10, I believe, get picked to actually have a pitch at the finals, the pitch competition. We've been involved for 4 or 5 years now. And so when I saw it come together, the first time I saw the business plan competition came together, I hit up Robert Stearns and said, I want to be a part of this. Like, I want to be a part of helping these entrepreneurs grow, and like I'll give away a merch package or whatever it takes. And so we've been doing that for the last several years. But I remember the first time that I was able to actually go to the competition, and my wife and I are sitting in the audience, and you're basically seeing like a Shark Tank thing happen in real life. And it's like, this is so cool. And you see people pour their heart out, and you can feel how hard it is for these people to get on. Some of them are not public speakers. Some of them are like, get out there giving their all in front of a group of 150 people that they have no idea who they are. And it is scary. Like, that is scary, and you just see it, and like you see their passion and how much they care. And it's like, man, I want to see more of that. It's like, it energizes me, and it makes me want to do better for our community, and makes me want to do better for those people that are up there, like giving it their all. So anyways, it makes me excited. I want to make that better. I want that to be like 200 people submitting a year or how many ever, like, because someone gets to walk away with a check for 10,000 bucks. And that's awesome. That's a lot of money and like goes a really long way in a small business. This year, the prize that I always sponsor is the perfect pitch prize. So it's the people that come and they're delivering this great pitch, and it's a separate from the actual winners of the event. But if the people in the room vote on the pitch that they thought was the coolest. So this is community engagement piece of it. And the people that won the perfect pitch this year were Create and Collaborate. And that's a nonprofit that provides mentoring and life skills to first generation college students. So people whose parents didn't get to go to college, like it's a new generation. And something that I really love about that, and it actually kind of goes back to when we started All Made Apparel. The reason that we started it is we were trying to break the chain of poverty in Haiti. And what we realized is if you educate well and you train these people to have good jobs, then they go and they take care of their family with that. And a lot of people don't have that opportunity. So just the heart of that is really, really cool. And so I loved seeing it. But the grand prize winner this year that got $10,000 from Frost Bank was Exo Halal. And this is a guy that has created a subscription box for people that have that diet, and maybe like that type of food isn't readily available in their community, or it's a lot of different types of snacks that they can take with them and throw in a backpack when they travel. And so they make sure that they are eating the proper diet. And that was a really like very super polished, really cool program. I was incredibly impressed by that guy. Second place went to Create and Collaborate, who also won the Perfect Pitch Award. And then the third place prize went to the Fort Worth STEAM Academy, which I thought was really cool and really exciting because my 12-year-old boy is like the perfect kid to go into a STEAM academy. And so seeing those types of things, and I think they're specifically focusing on the east side of Fort Worth, to bring kids in and to help educate them in that capacity is super, super cool. So yeah, the whole thing is awesome. It's a really fun night. If you haven't gone before, like, please go. Check out the business plan competition for next year. Frost Bank does our city a solid by sponsoring the cash for that award. And yeah, I can't say enough about it. It's a fun night. I really look forward to it.
Yep, I agree. I'm a fan. I was actually a part of it a few years ago, 2017, I think. So I'm a huge fan as well. But thank you for doing that and sharing that story with us. All right, Brett, I want to know, what is your favorite innovation in Fort Worth?
You know, I think that we could talk about some pretty amazing people that have come out of Fort Worth and done amazing things. Like, we're affecting the world out of this city, and it's really cool to see. But I think my favorite business, and I think a company that certainly is impacting the world, is Renfro Salsa. So I am a chips and salsa guy. I have a quote in our small apparel community that is no chips, no salsa, no party. And Doug Renfro is just one of the coolest guys and such a great ambassador of our city and sharer of knowledge. And man, so anyways, also, like, I love seeing all the film stuff happening in town. And I have to give a shout out to my good friend Red Sanders, who has brought so much to our city in that capacity, and certainly Jessica Hill, who's done so much, and Tom Martins, who is Tom Martins is maybe the crown jewel of this city. If you don't know Tom, the things that he has done to cultivate creativity in our city is bar none. It's just absolutely amazing. So while Miss Renfro's is maybe my favorite innovation in the city, like, I love seeing what has happened in our city in the last several years, that has been created by people like Red and Jessica and Tom and all of the Visit Fort Worth, Bob and Mitch at Visit Fort Worth, and certainly Taylor Sheridan bringing all he has to our city to make it a really, really cool place that is being shown to the world now on TV screens.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, lots of great Fort Worth companies and entrepreneurs and innovators there. So thanks for sharing. I'm a big fan of all those as well. Brett, thank you so much for joining me today on Fort Worth Innovates.
Cameron, thank you so much for doing podcasts like this. Thank you to Texas A&M for believing in it. I think it's really, really important for our entrepreneur and innovator community. And so having me on that's a huge blessing. Thank you so much. And for any people out there that would like to reach out to me, you can reach me at brett@printedthreads.com. I'd love to talk to you.
If you like hearing stories like this about innovation, research, entrepreneurship, and startups in our city, please subscribe, share, and be sure to tell a friend. Remember, the more you engage, the more episodes we can bring you. Fort Worth Innovates is produced by Kendall Rogers. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this podcast, the Fort Worth-Tarrant County Innovation Partnership, who are building an innovation district where technology and research combine to build the future, right here, right now.